Morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the World Sustainable Transport Day. My name is Ronan Bourguin. I'm the Chief Development Officer of Fréquin and delighted to moderate this roundtable. So welcome to our guest speakers today and to all the people online. This roundtable is the first of 4 organized today by Fréquin. Just after this one, there is another roundtable with a focus on Spain at 10:30 a.m. Then at noon, the third one with a focus on the UK, and the last one with a focus on France at 4 p.m. If you have not yet registered for those roundtables, please do so. For each one, like here, great list of speakers will share their views. So at Fréquin, we believe that transport is not just about moving vehicles and goods from A to B. It's about doing it smarter, cleaner, and more responsibly. We are hosting this roundtable because the decarbonization of transport is no longer a distant topic. It's happening now in our regulations, in our cities, and in our customers' expectation. So over the next hour, we'll explore practical ways to make fleets more sustainable, not in theory, but in day-to-day operation. So our goal is simple. When you leave this session, you will have concrete new ideas on how to accelerate on the sustainability of transport. For this first European roundtable, our guests are the following. So Alexander Jensen from DSV Group, Director on Aid of Sustainability for Road Europe. DSV Group is one of the world's leading logistic company with 40 billion euro revenues, moving goods across road, air, sea, rail, and warehousing. Today operating one of the largest decarbonized vehicle fleet in Europe. Alexander, good morning.
Morning.
We have also Carla Ribeiro from MAN, Zero Emission Sales Europe and Strategic Advisor. MAN is a leading manufacturer of commercial vehicles with trucks and buses. Carla, good morning.
Good morning.
We also have Gaëtan Texier from Equans, global expert on electricity. Equans is a 19 billion revenue global leader in energy and technical services, supporting customers across many topics, including installation of electric charging stations. Gaëtan, good morning.
Good morning, Roland. Good morning, all.
We have Peter Chalma, partner at HCNP Consulting, supporting fleet owners in Netherlands to transition their fleet. Peter, good morning. Peter, I don't know if you...
Good morning.
Yeah. And we final speaker is Yves Pétain, CEO of Fréquin. Fréquin is a leading European full-service operating lease company with 51,000 vehicles across 8,000 customer fleets. Yves, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Ronan, and delighted to share this webinar with our guest speakers today. Very good.
Thank you very much to you online and to our speakers for joining us on this special day for our industry. So we'll discuss 3 topics today, which are the heart of fleets sustainability. So the first one is the energy mix in professional fleets, and more specifically, how to balance between the different energy for each usage. Then we'll talk about electric vehicles, the energy that disrupts fleets the most, and the operational impacts, charging management and TCO control. And finally, I will talk about innovation on how new technologies such as AI and data and new solutions could impact professional fleets going forward. So the first topic is the energy mix. So replacing diesel can be done with gas, e-fuel, or electric vehicles. Not all energies are today well fitted for all applications. And the difficulty for companies today is how to start implementing those new energy based on their operational needs at a reasonable cost. Alexander, I'll start give you the mic at the DSV. You have started this transition journey at DSV. How have you addressed this question of the fleet energy mix?
Yeah, well, we have, as you said, one of the largest low and zero emission fleets operating in Europe with more than 2,400 trucks currently in operations. And to be very frank, for now, it's a mix of very different solutions and technologies. HVO, biofuels, biogas makes up a vast majority of that, of course, because it is accessible and it's cheap. But a growing part of it is also electric, with more than 400 heavy-duty vehicles currently running as battery electric. So we have a mix now, and we'll continue to have that for the coming years, mainly because we are focused on ensuring we can deliver low-carbon solutions to our customers today, while also reducing our own impact now, but of course also gearing our company and making it ready to operate what we believe will be, if not then at least a cornerstone of the future in the electric vehicle. I think it's honest to say that we are in an industry that's operated with a diesel truck for more than 100 years, and we've perfected everything around that technology. And now we are suddenly in a situation where we have many different technologies available, and we have to change the whole way we're operating. So it's not something you do over one day. It's something that takes time, and that is very much what we focused on here at DSV, ensuring carbon reductions already today, while gearing and changing our way of operating so we are ready for electrifying a vast majority of our business tomorrow.
Thank you. Peter, based on your experience accompanying several customers in the Netherlands, what are your views on this topic?
Yeah, what we typically advise our customers is also to, just like Alexander, to start slowly with 1 or 2 trucks. And that typically is battery electric rather than hydrogen. What we've seen is that early adapters have taken up the what we call the minimum viable products in zero emission trucks several years ago. And currently we see an uptake of the 500 kilometer ranges of zero emission trucks really picking up thanks to tax incentives, discounts on toll and MOUT, and also with the impending ETS2 directive. Hydrogen, however, it doesn't really provide a positive TCO in most cases, other than for heavy-duty transport and mobile cranes and remote building remote mobile construction sites, and only that when the regulatory framework doesn't allow any zero emission fuels. Recently, we gave a course for a big transport company in the Netherlands, and he said, "Well, I got 80 trucks. Should I now wait and buy 20 trucks 3 years from now? What should I do?" And we said, "Well, start with 1 or 2, because you have to learn everything about the ecosystem around these zero emission trucks, and that's a whole new ball game. You have to learn things you just don't know at this point in time. It's not replacing a diesel truck by another diesel truck. It's a complete new game."
Thank you, Peter. We have all seen that a key success factor when starting to implement a new energy is to go step by step. Carla, from MAN, from your point of view, what are the key first steps customers should start with?
Thank you, Ronan. Maybe I will start a little bit high level, but we at MAN see that companies, the ones that move the fastest, are the ones that combine a very strong leadership with a shared mission. What I mean is that it starts with very clear targets, very much at the top of the organization to really set this direction. The reality is that this cannot be top down only. Yeah, you also have to have a mission that all your shareholders and stakeholders buy into, if not generally sign up to. Yeah, so it touches everybody and every area of the business. So it's ensuring that everybody understands the why. I'd say the second step for me is attracting the right pool of talents, people that can navigate this complexity, challenge the legacy thinking. As you said, it's more than 100 years, so there's a lot of know-how that you need to challenge. It's connect operations also with energy, digitalization, and sustainability. So really having the right leaders in the right areas of the business to ensure that you can bring it at pace, which is the keyword for this webinar, but also at scale, sorry. The second pillar really is data. I think choosing the right energy for the right use case. You know that I'm a big fan of electrification, although I'm very conscious that this technology will evolve drastically, but this doesn't necessarily apply to all the use cases. So you really need to dive into hard data, mass data, start analyzing routes, dwell times, payloads, grid constraints, and all the operational patterns and cost scenarios. And this is how the energy mix becomes a strategic portfolio and not an improvisation or a guessing game. So really, to summarize, it's clear direction, compelling narrative for all shareholders, bringing the right talents, and dare to act early, but also ground key decisions in hard data.
Thank you, Carla. Gaëtan for Equans, what are your views on that?
So the views is coming from our customers. So for them, the point is to replace a carbonated fuel by a clean energy, guarantee autonomy to run this transport activity, and without impact on the economic model. To reach the point, we recommend to start with three essential steps. First one will be to build a time frame to decarbonate the fleet according to the age of the fleet and the vehicle and the capex available, including also all possible subsidies coming from outside. So this is the time frame first. Second point is to source the clean energy and to make a choice. This will be done according to the volume needed to run the transport activity, and also the location, where are the depot, where are the route used by the customer. And according to this, we will be able to identify where are the clean energy sources in between the one you mentioned earlier. And third step is to think about the digital monitoring. So it will be a new way to manage the fleet of decarbonate vehicles. So digitalization will be a key, and also think about the organization of maintenance. So further to these three steps, you build a plan, and you can so select a source of clean energy and start your decarbonation of the fleet. Keeping in mind, as you said, that today electric by battery is the most advanced solution, and it's more or less what will happen in the coming years.
Thank you, Gaëtan.
Welcome.
Yves, how is Fréquent evaluating on addressing the fleet energy mix of its customer?
Yeah, what we see at Fréquent, talking to customers, is that clearly there is a pathway to decarbonation that will take probably 10 years. We see that leadership is essential to move on that pathway. And what we see as well is currently having a fleet of 52,000 mostly rigid vehicles in essential services in urban areas in 10 countries in Europe. We manage about 8,000 fleets for our customers, and we see a huge diversity already in the current technology of application. So you can imagine that when you have to transition this one to electric, it's even more different application. And clearly, one size doesn't fit all. Therefore, we need to continue to do what we do, and is having an advisory role mindset towards our customer, entering a dialogue with our customers to understand what is their really key priority. Is it CO2 reduction? Is it more shifting to the new technology? Or what are the other trade-offs they are considering? And then we go even further into detail, like we already do today, understanding their really usage, numbers of kilometers, mileage, payload, site constraints, infrastructure. And we customized a solution for them, being independent. So we're not afraid to say no or to refuse some obvious choice. And we are the strategic partners to our customers. We have been for 80 years, and we intend to remain the coming 80 years. Yeah, so we do in that way. So I would say that we are an aggregator of best practices of about 10,000 customers in Europe, and especially because the energy transition is not the same in every country due to regulation, history, usage. So I think it's very important that we can aggregate those best practices and promote them to our customers.
Thank you. So in 10 years from now, the future will be electric. So that's our second topic of discussion in this roundtable. So of course, not all registration are expected to be electric, but the European regulation is pushing to decarbonize our industry. And one of the key enablers is the access to energy to recharge electric vehicles, whether it is on the user sites, in their depots, or in public stations. Gaëtan, at Equans, you already work look at the next 5 years. From your point of view, is the installation of new recharging stations growing fast enough to enable this transition?
Yes and no. So first of all, we start with some figures. Yeah, for 2025, it will be more or less 2% of registration for new e-trucks or decarbonic trucks. And what is expected from the European Union is to reach 30% of registration by to get the 45% of reduction of GHG emission. So to make this happen, it's more or less roughly 250,000 charging points to be deployed in Europe. Technical point of view, it will be also roughly 70% of AC charger and 30% of DC charger to provide charging in depot or public charging. So to answer your questions, this is feasible. It is technically feasible to install and deploy all these chargers by 2030 and to reach the target from the European Commission. It is feasible because it has already been done for the light vehicle, light EV cars. So it's more or less 1 million chargers installed already in Europe. So we can make it. What will be needed to make it happen is to have all the stakeholders aligned on this timeline. Stakeholders meaning the O&M first, but also the energy providers, grid operators, and also government to maintain subsidies, also to accelerate the investment. Grid operators to reach the capacity to charge all these trucks. It's more or less 25 gigawatt to be available by 2030. And one of the main key issue will be the land, availability of the land to build all these charging stations. So we need parking lots. So having all these all these points well evaluated and well aligned by all the stakeholders, we can reach the objective and make it happen at least by 2030.
Thank you, Gaëtan. Peter, you're based in Netherlands, which is a country well advanced compared to some other European countries. From you, what you've seen, is the grid following customer needs?
Well, indeed, the transition is so successful that the grid has trouble keeping up with the necessary extensions. The good news is lots of money is currently being invested in the grid, and there's also a newer legal framework coming into place on the 1st of January, providing for a range of measures aiming to better use existing capacity to be more flexible. So that's good, and on top of that, on the demand side, we see a huge growth in energy storage applications to optimize grid connections, to optimize the renewable energy that basically solar panels and can create, and deploying those kilowatt hours back into mobile applications and thereby also harvesting the renewable energy units. So on the supply side, we see an increased investments to increase the grid and provide more flexibility. And on the demand side, we see really increasing awareness of how to optimize the cost per kilowatt hours, because that is where very much the key success factor will be for the future.
Thank you, Peter. Carla, for MAN, when customers are switching to electric, beyond the charging aspect we've just discussed, we know a key criteria is the total cost of ownership, so the famous TCO. So what are the main factors they need to pay attention to in order to make sure the expected TCO benefits are actually realized?
You're right, Ronan. This is a famous acronym and probably a favorite one, knowing we evolve in a very fragmented and very margin-driven market. So it's very important to take in account some key fundamentals for it to work. Although keep in mind, everybody has its own way of thinking about this, so it can be quite mystical. I'll focus on 4 key pillars. The first is understanding that energy planning matters almost as much as vehicle planning. Yeah, so smart depot charging, the right power, enabling smart charging windows to then drive most of the savings. We realize that relying heavily or solely on fast charging, public fast charging, might erode the TCO. So it's important to have to de-risk this and de-risk the reliance on public infrastructure only. Obviously, this drives cost, and we see most of the successful stories when cargo owners, third-party logistics, or even fleet operators sit around the table, look at the routes, and decide what's the best way to share the investment and share the risk across the different depots. Then, second, we see a route and utilization alignment, so matching the right mission to the right battery configuration or dimension. I think, and we know that there is still some anxiety when it comes to range. Okay, so I want to give you guys some one data point. We have 400 of these early fleets, ETGX, which are electric tractors, running all across Europe. And thanks to the data we're able to gather, we realize that the batteries are so underutilized. I think, again, it's linked to this range anxiety. But when I'm saying underutilized, it's almost not even 50% of this range is utilized. So I think there's a shift on how we are using the vehicles that will operate. But we also understand this is a new technology for most operators. So building this confidence internally with tangible data might change this paradigm. I think the third is the driver behavior and the connected maintenance. The regen, the eco driving, the predictive maintenance, we talked about this before, can really shift the cost by double-digit percentages. Yeah, so we see a big evolution in the drivers now becoming more and more comfortable and confident with the technology and really seeking this performance per kilowatt. And then there's what I like to call the boosters because I don't think they are meant to stay. This is ensuring that we capture all the available incentives. So there are a lot in all regions, also some cities too, that can really boost this TCO parity. Although with the technology scaling fast and economies of scale that we can expect in the next few years, we do believe that incentives will not be, this so much needed, let's say, to seek this TCO parity. The last point I want to raise, and fully conscious we are a margin-driven market, this cannot also be about direct cost. Yeah, there are penalties, restrictions, opportunities, costs linked to overutilizing ICE fleets. We talk about low emission zones across Europe. We talk about noise constraints, access limitation. Electric trucks can also unlock night deliveries, quiet operations, significant image and ESG gains that are probably a little bit tough to measure and quantify in a TCO. and that probably don't appear already, but this can really influence competitiveness, customer preference, and long-term revenue. I think DSV has seen this also, if I may, in this customer traction and customer relationship. So it's not just a financial calculation, but it can really elevate the whole business going forward. Closing here.
Thank you, Carla. Yves, in Fréquin, how is TCO addressed?
I will leverage a little bit on what Carla just said and try to complement by saying that for more than 80 years, Fréquin has in its DNA the full comprehensive fleet management approach. And actually, we are shaping the future of fleet management, having a comprehensive management together with the customer for the benefit of the customer of the total cost of operation, and not just only ownership, by the way. And secondly, I would say that we are focusing today, of course, on the decarbonization journey, but the total cost of ownership are also evolving for the remaining ICE part of the fleet. And being technology OEM agnostic, we are really, per definition, the key strategic partner in the value chain to support our customer to address this decarbonization journey. So indeed, we address the three main classical topic of cost of ownership by financing the asset, avoiding the capital outlay of our customer, but above all, taking the risk on the residual value for the customer. And we're also helping the customer to design the proper vehicle so that the CapEx value ratio is optimized. We support our customers with data points and feedback on the usage of the vehicle to manage and monitor the utilization of the batteries to support their operation. And finally, we also, on the electricity part, sorry, on the second topic, we also support our customers with partners on having access to electrification. Of course, we don't do everything ourselves, but we team up with strategic partner in the value chain, being a chef d'orchestre, I would say, in the value chain, making sure that we can connect all the stakeholders in the value chain for the benefit of the customer, enabling the solution, especially in the electrification part, in the infrastructure part. And finally, on the driver, we know how key it is to train the drivers upfront before the first experience on BEV driving, and we have our own training simulator, and we also have a fleet of own drivers, about 500 drivers. So we have our own internal driver team from which we get a lot of feedback as well. So we have really a full comprehensive approach, not only today, tomorrow, after tomorrow, to ensure that the entire transition is smooth for the benefit of the customer.
Thank you, Yves. Alexander, at DSV, is it TCO of the vehicle delivering its promises? What action have you implemented to make sure the TCO is well tracking?
Well, yes, it's delivering its promises, meaning it is still an expensive technology to operate. but I very much agree with both what Yves and Carla has said. I mean, also speaking as one that already have some of the MAN trucks and operations in our fleet. I mean, I think it's fair to say we have been a bit too cautious in this, right? Looking at, and I think that's not only for DSV, but for the entire industry, thinking distribution, milk runs, these are the kind of operations where you need to deploy an electric truck because the range fits. But the truth is, and many of the other panelists or even the listeners might know this, if you're driving your own electric car, is the more kilometers you get into it, the better the business case. It's the same for an electric truck, right? And that's where it becomes quite fun, because that means for line haul and for DSV, our groupage network is actually where it's most interesting to electrify, because it both provides a better TCO, but it's actually also where we reduce the most CO2. So it's a win-win. And here range is, of course, the primary limiting factor in our ability to do that. But I think it's fair to say also that the manufacturers of these trucks are delivering vehicles now that are already improving significantly on range, for example, especially compared to the models we could acquire a year or 2 years ago. From the ones that we get delivered now, the range have more than doubled. So this is evolving quite fast. And that's also why, even though the TCO parity is not here today, the reason why DSV has more than 400 electric vehicles in operations is because we can see what needs to happen for the TCO to reach parity, and not even parity, but to be below the baseline diesel truck. And that's not, I mean, that's even if we only look at the core parameters here. We solely look at cost of vehicle, cost of fuel, and then the utilization rate, or our ability to transport goods for our customers. If we only look at those three aspects, well, even there is the possibility for the electric truck to become a more efficient and cheaper solution, at least in some scenarios. And as you also said, Carla, money is king in this business, right? It's a very low margin business, which means every euro cent saved is a euro cent earned. And with the promises of an electric truck, well, that is the only technology right now, as far as we can see, that has the potential to deliver a better TCO than current operations. That is why we invest so heavily in this technology today, not because there's TCO parity, but because we can see that the factors that need and can deliver us there are moving in the right direction. And we firmly believe that the company that gets most learnings, know how to operate with this, manage to, as I also said in the beginning, to change the operations so it fits to this technology. The company that managed to do that first and most efficiently, well, they will win in the long run. So that's why we're so heavily invested in this in DSV. It's not only because we want to reduce our carbon footprint, also because it's a good business strategy.
Always the best answer. If it's the best business strategy, probably good to follow. So we know that changing to an electric vehicle often requires users to change some of their operation. Just if we name a few, payload of the vehicle can be impacted due to the weight of the batteries. Routes used sometimes need to be adapted depending on vehicle autonomy and needs to recharge. Driving behavior, we talked about it, become a key factor in energy consumption. So Carla, for MAN, what are the key advices you would provide to get the best when moving to operate an electric truck?
Thank you, Ronan. And you managed to mention some of the key limitations or the key topics that we must navigate or adapt to. Maybe for me, I'll focus on the positives and the opportunities. Okay, so I think Alexander touched on this a little bit. I think that when customers switch to electric, my advice is to look far beyond just the vehicle, and see this technology and this transformation as an investment into scalable and evolving platforms. Once again, electric trucks are not static assets. They come with continuous software upgrades. We see what's going on in the car industry, new digital features and deeper integration in energy and logistics systems. I'm a firm believer that carbon savings are the new currency. So we have at some point, to move away from this solely cost-driven conversation towards one that's centered on the value creation. And I think it's important to recognize that we are taking you guys on, we are all on this journey, but this is just the beginning. We've only seen the premises of what decarbonization, digitalization, and soon circularity can bring. So it's important to acknowledge this and embrace the bumpy road, and ensure that you get all these learnings. So how do you make the most of it? I think we talked about starting early. This is the key point. And start small. Test the technology, get all these learnings in. I think starting early and having this early learnings can really set you apart from competition. I like to say that second, electrification is a team sport. So make the most of these technology to involve and engage your customers and partners. Your investment in building decarbonization is also key to their own value proposition. It always happens as a ricochet. So I think this is something that's so important. Make the most of it and monetize your investment. And third, build your own differentiation on ESG performance backed by data and transparency, which will become more and more important as we see companies so focused on monitoring and measuring their impact. So operational fundamentals still matter, and you talked about this, Ronan. But the real shift becomes when we treat this electric trucking transition as a strategic asset and an evolutive technology. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Alexander, based on your experience in DSV, do you agree with Carla, or do you have a different point of view?
No, I fully agree. I mean, being early adopters, you also mentioned, Carla, this, I mean, the driver experience and how much it impacts the range, right? This is one of the advantages of being an early adopter, because you get these learnings, and I fully agree that we can see a big influence on a driver that's sit behind the wheel for the first time of electric truck, and one that's been there for months or maybe even a year, that the capabilities of the electric truck are heavily influenced by that. And I mean, that takes time, the learnings. You can't just plop in an electric vehicle and then expect it to operate perfectly if none of the people around it has experience with what that entails, being the driver, the freight forwarder, or even the customer, right? So that is why yes, it's a team sports, and also why being an early adopter is so important. I think we have a great experience of a driver who got behind the wheel of an electric truck for the first time, and the freight forwarder called me and told me that everything worked perfectly, but the driver was, funny enough, always 15 minutes earlier than he used to be. And I think that's because you get behind a vehicle that suddenly accelerates and is much more efficient than you used to, right? So that is one of the few things that sounds funny, is a good story to tell. But of course, in the end, it actually has an impact about cost, efficiency, and reliability of the whole business. So fully agree that's why we try to push this and also spread it out. So not only deploying our electric vehicles in some of the key markets in Europe, but spread it out, so we also get our Eastern European business covered in this, where a lot of our hauliers are operating or based, to make sure it's all part of the business that knows what does it mean to operate with an electric truck, what is its limitation, and what is its advantages.
Thank you. And Yves, what has Fréquent seen with his customer when they change to electric truck? On which advice would you share?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Ronan. And I think we see a lot, and we are going to see much more in the future. What we see is that the shift to BEV technology is a change of paradigm. And what we see actually is that the players that are making the best transition have a very, very good team. So actually what we see is that the quality of the team of our customer reflects in the quality of their transition. What I mean here is that within our customers, within the decision-making units of our customers, there are people like infra manager involved, there are the traditional fleet managers, people involved, because the capital outlay or the capital engaged are higher, and the stake are even more important. You'll have the CPO and even the chief financial officer are involved. So suddenly, organization holistically have a common approach, and their weakness is reflected in the way they are prepared. And it's all about preparation. There is a Japanese say that says preparation is everything. Here, it's even more important than that, because there is long lead time in preparation, and you never know what you don't know. And the best advice I could give to our customer is team up with Frican, team up with stakeholders in the value chain that will strengthen your weaknesses. So you get advanced knowledge, that you get identification of possible future pitfall, so that your decarbonization journey will be as smooth as possible. I will highlight one about planning being key. It takes between half a year to 2 years to get a BEV battery electric vehicle. And you know, at Frican we serve customers in mission essential urban application field, mostly rigid vehicles with a lot of equipment. So when we have to I would say to design the configuration, the bespoke configuration of our customer, we have to do it around the driver, because in a position with long haulage application field, the driver is key in this urban application field. And having the opinion of the driver is key, but even more important, having a good knowledge and having a good collaboration with OEM, understanding the specification of their trucks, but also the limitation of space, energy engaged to put equipment on the body, on the crane, on other equipment is essential. So it's really, I would say in a way, it's redefining a little bit the way we work all together in this value chain. And the beauty of it, it's fostering and enhancing the connection among the different stakeholders to make it happening. And that's very exciting.
And to reach a 15-minute save each day, like Alexander indicated, one key parameter is to manage the charging time to best use the electric truck. I guess that's part of reaching that. So at Equans, Gaëtan, you have accompanied large companies and customers to equip themselves with charging station. What are the key factors you evaluate and discuss when designing a recharge setup for a customer?
Yeah, so charging time, yes, is critical, but at the end of the day, the electricity consumption is more critical. So designing a new setup, in fact, is to well adapt the charging setup to the need of the customer and to well define a charging strategy. Will it be overnight charging, will in depot, on the route? So this is the first point. So define a charging strategy according to the need of the customer. The second point is when we know the power needed is to check the availability of the electricity. This could become an issue because grid connection could be a long lead event item from according to the location of the country or the country. So there are some other solutions. In fact, is to add some energy storage, some battery storage associated to the charging point. So it's more capex, but it's also a custom optimization on a long duration, on a long time. So this is the setup to connect to the grid. Second point, and the third point is to define a smart energy management. So it's to provide some flexibility to the grid operator. So in order to well to take benefit of the offer from electricity distributor. According to the flexibility and the cost of electricity. So these are the 3 points. And after these 3 topics, you can plan for scalability and including the growth of the fleet when it will expand.
Thank you. And Peter, you've helped many customers in their transition on with their design of their charging station in the Netherlands. What advice would you give?
Well, it's a very interesting phenomenon. I can recall 25, 30 years ago talking to hauliers which were barking at the thought of having to invest in something called a computer server to store their data, because that piece of equipment didn't have wheels. And they weren't used to that. Currently, we see the same story. we have, in principle, a huge capex if you have a large fleet. And they're looking at it and thinking like, hey, hang on a second, how do we best do this? And that is where I join everybody in basically deciding to start small to learn, but very much take a longer view in terms of designing your charging plaza, your charging infrastructure on your site. If you have the space to do so, because not always you have the space, not always you have the connection. So you really have to look from a customer perspective. What is the type of business that I'm running? Do I have daytime distribution, nighttime trucks are at the back at depot? Do I have a double usage of trucks? We have customers that use their trucks 20 hours a day. They're only 2 times 2 hours back at depot. This is the time they want to charge that. So you really have to look at the business requirements to design your charging strategy with a mix of slow and fast chargers, with a huge number of variables. But foremost is very much that you start with the business requirements and you devise a kind of a timeline for replacement of your fleet, and then optimize your transition in terms of capex and opex, and very much utilize as much as basically meaning as soon as you make a step change in your infrastructure, make sure you can use as much as possible the kilowatt hours which are then provided via the pipeline of charging. Because to recoup your investment, your capex, you really have to look at your opex. And running an electric truck is cheaper. Alexander already mentioned, we see a great number of business cases coming up in line haul, because this is where very much the business is. Asset utilization, running the maximum number of useful kilometers with electric trucks, but also using your infrastructure to the max to make sure that your cost per kilowatt hour goes down. And so you have to really look at the timeline of your requirements, optimize capex and opex, focus on your asset utilization, and then when it comes to your charging infrastructure, we see people buying 1 or 2 trucks with a half intelligent charging point. Very often we say, well, if you redesign your yard, look at where you want to have the trucks eventually charging, put your underground infrastructure in, even if you don't pull a cable in it, basically make sure you only do the infrastructure that works once. But it's a complex issue, because very often we see warehouses being leased by operators. So there is an infrastructure component for the owner of the premises. There is a investment for the operator, and you need to sit together with all parties to hammer out where the benefits are and to divide them in a proper manner, so you get the right incentives from the owner side to the operator side, so you can move forward. All in all, again, if you have 80 trucks coming back to the yard every night, or 250 trucks coming back to the yard, or you're always on the road, you need to think of a really proper, well thought out roadmap. And that is exactly what we do at HCMP. We train our customers, we advise our customers how to move forward, so they can move their company through the transition towards zero emission.
Thank you, Peter. So the last topic of our roundtable is the innovation to support sustainability. Commercial vehicles become intelligent, which bring a lot of possibility, as well as creating more complex vehicles. Just to name a few, the use of data analytics, artificial intelligence for maintenance, vehicle to grid, hydrogen, autonomous vehicles. So Alexander, at DSV, what type of initiative have you started to work on what are the key benefits you see today?
Well, one of the advantages of being a big company is, of course, that you can focus on a lot of things at the same time. So of all of you, the examples you mentioned, well, we have test trials running with all these different technologies all around the world, being autonomous vehicles, catenary solutions where we charge the trucks right with overhead wires, with AI implementation, hydrogen solutions, solar PVs on the trucks. All these different kinds of things we look at. And at the end of the day, it's of course trying to get a proof of concept and see is there a potential business case here, right? So fuel savings, or we are so lucky to be in a business where fuel savings both equal cheaper operations, but also fewer emissions. So that's of course what we are focused on, is finding technologies that can deliver both. We drive with test autonomous vehicles in the US currently to see the potential there, but I think it's fair to say there's still some steps need to be taken, especially in Europe, before that's a technology we can see expand. But with the driver shortage on top of it in Europe, that technology becomes more and more interesting every day. So we approach it with, we have an innovation department who looks at the startup and see if it's scalable, make a proof of concept. And once they figure out if it can both deliver cheaper operations and fewer emissions, they hand it over to me and my colleagues in the sustainability department. And then we see how do we then gear our operations to scale and deploy this across our business.
Thank you. Thank you. Carla, for MAN, what benefits do you see from connectivity of the vehicles?
Yes, Ronan. Data is king, yeah. And what we hear on this panel is very inspirational. I do want to take maybe a second to also recognize that there are some industry leaders and thought leaders on this panel. But we work also with the field, we work with the ground, and we work with a lot of SMEs and medium-sized companies that are maybe a little bit far behind when it comes to understanding and absorbing or adopting connectivity and data-driven decisions. So I think for us, and it's a word that we cherish a lot in our generation, it's inclusion. I think it's on us also. It's our responsibility to bring in inclusive solutions to this all these companies out there that are probably still working on Excel sheets. You know, this is the reality on the field, to make sure that they can onboard this kind of solutions for the greater good. Yeah. So now that I've said this, as I said, data is king, and we believe that this is becoming the new competitive advantage. In a day where vehicles, chargers, depots, energy supplies are all becoming intelligent, data becomes the most valuable asset for some of our fleets. For the vehicles specifically, deep battery and energy intelligence is going to be key in the next years. You know, we talk a lot about battery storage. Obviously, secondhand batteries will be a key valuable asset for us as an economy, not only as a transportation sector. Predictive and even prescriptive maintenance is a key point for us when you think about connectivity. Operational optimization, obviously on route. I think this is the work that you can do ahead when it comes to preparing or planning the fleet. But there's also, you know, en route or kind of over-the-air optimizations that you can get from the data collected on the vehicles and across your fleet. Energy mix and infrastructure planning, this we talked about. Once again, this you cannot improvise. Make sure that you look into the hard data to lay out your investments, whether it's on the vehicles or on the charging solutions. So yes, as a summary, you know, technology matters. It will be evolutive, and data is king going forward. But we have to find simple, you know, solutions and demystify this piece, which for so many players in the industry can seem very complex. So I think it's our responsibility, and we have some great examples, you know, between DSV that operates with so many different players across the globe to find, you know, holistic solutions for their customers. Fréquent with your panel and portfolio of services and solutions, and obviously us OEMs alongside key consultants to build this holistic solutions for customers.
Thank you, Carla. Gaëtan, what are Zequan's view on the upcoming innovation that we could see soon in Europe?
What we are pushing on in Equans is the solution by the electrical road solution, so charging while driving. Alexander mentioned the catenary solution, but there are several others, such as induction or by transfer of electricity by rail. So whatever the solution will be, there are several advantages to push this electric roads. First of all, is to reduce the battery capacity onboarded on the truck. So it's a matter of capex. So if you reduce the capacity, you reduce the volume and the cost. Second point is a better distribution of the electricity all along the route of the trucks, instead of having it concentrated in a station. And the main one is also the land issue, the availability of the land to build some parking for electric trucks. So we are pushing on it. Will it come soon? We'll discuss the point in 2030. On our mind, it will not be a European solution. It will be what we are dealing with in Equans is to build some private project, let's say, point to point, where you have commuting traffic. As an example, from port to port in Europe, so we are building some roundtable around this project, and we could discuss the point in the coming years.
Let's see how it develops. Yves, Fréquent launched its new platform called Nexa. How is Fréquent using data and AI in its new customer platform?
I would say that listening to Carla earlier, I think she's the queen of data, but more seriously, I believe that more globally, innovation in itself is an enabler to release a huge potential of value creation. The entire transport industry, which we represent here today, is very late in a lot of changes, a little bit traditional if you compare to other industries. And one of the reasons I have joined Fréquent 4 years ago is that I foresee a huge potential here using data and AI to connect all stakeholders around the vehicles in their application, in their infrastructure, in their behavior, but also all the equipment. And having all this connectivity potential provides a lot of data. Today at Fréquent, we are able to collect about 550 billion of data points per vehicle per year, which you can imagine using AI agentic give us the potentiality to develop new decision algorithm to do preventive maintenance, prescriptive advisory to customers online, to when to switch to BEV, in order to really to make sure that the uptime of the vehicle is maximized for the benefit of the customers. And we also see innovation as an opportunity really to transform the customer journey. We have been reviewing the customer journey, and we are innovating, for example, by launching in 2026 an electric card, so that our customer will be able to charge on the public network at 1.5 million charging point in Europe. So there are different areas in innovation, in data, through connectivity, and with AI to really release a lot of value creation potential. What I like about this transition, it is all about a startup mindset, making some box, and then from there going fast, but always focusing on the value creation for the end user.
Thank you, Yves. So we arrive at the end of this roundtable, and I would like to thank our guest speakers, Alexander, Carla, Gaëtan, Peter, Yves. Thank you very much.
The guest speakers would like to thank the moderator.
Yeah, yes, very much so.
So this roundtable was the first of 4 organized today by Fréquent. Just after this one, there is another roundtable with a focus on Spain at 10:30. Then at noon, a third one with a focus on the UK, and the last one with a focus on France at 4 p.m. If you have not yet registered for those roundtables, please do so. For each one, like here, a great list of speakers. We share the views. Thank you very much to all people who connected and listened to us today. And I wish to everyone a great World Sustainable Transport Day.
It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.